Hi, I'm the PC Expert Amateur, and I'm sure you guys have been wondering why my channel has not had any videos for a bit now. And that's because, well, number one, I was trying to finish up the first half of my tests verifying MSI's results plus side mounting. Well, I ran into a snag, and that snag was that when I wanted to mount the AIO's radiator with the tubes at the bottom instead of the top, I tried to turn it over. Now, the water block was mounted correctly with the tubes coming out of the top by the CPU. But because of that positioning, I could not mount the radiator to the side or the front. And so I had to remount it. And I didn't want to mount it on the bottom because, as I've explained in previous videos, mounting the water block with the tubes facing down will eventually result in an accumulation of air in the water block. Sorry, I'm hiccuping for some reason. And that can eventually lead to some pretty big problems, especially if the pump is mounted in or contained inside of the water block. So I mounted it with the tubes facing in the direction of the radiator. And I was finally able to mount it. I did hear a weird noise from the pump for a bit, but that went away. And so I got it mounted, and I had applied a little bit of additional thermal paste to it, but the thermal paste wasn't the same brand. But you know, I left what was there because it was still good. It was still wet, and just added a little bit. And just had a series of problems with getting it connected. And then I realized, and you know, I've been doing computer stuff on and off for most of my life. And that's, you know, since basically I started getting into computers around 1980. And you can make mistakes. It's very easy to make mistakes. So I mounted it. What I didn't realize, because I was sitting in my chair next to my case, so I pushed the AIO the block onto the mounting bolts, and I tightened it down with the 4 nuts, which look kind of like this, except there's a hole going all the way through instead of a bolt sticking out. And so I put it together and tried it out, and the temperatures were ridiculously high. And it didn't make sense. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I didn't tighten it enough. And I was pretty sure I had, but I thought, well, so I tried and tried and tried and tried, and nothing worked. And then I finally noticed that I had mismounted it. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I didn't damage anything. So I looked, and it didn't seem like anything was damaged. And so I mounted it. I cleaned off the thermal paste because I just wasn't sure about it anymore. And I used a different brand. Now, normally with this cooler, because it's a Thermalright cooler, TF7 thermal paste, I would use the same one. But the tube that they had sent with it had only been enough for 2 or 3 applications, so I didn't have enough of that. So at some point, I switched from that to Alpha Cool's Silver Thermal Grease. Now, at the time, I didn't know if it was good or how good it was, because I just knew that was, I had a large syringe of it. I mean, it's like 30 or something grams of it, and I wanted to use something that I was going to be able to use over and over and over again so I used that. And so put everything back together again, and the temperatures were still not right. I was like, what the heck? It's mounted correctly this time. And I tinkered with it. I tried unmounting it and remounting it and playing with making sure there was enough slack for the tube so that they weren't, because there's when I would put the block onto the mounting bolts, there was some pull from the radiator tubes. They were kind of pulling it. So this is the end facing the back. This is the end facing the radiator. This end was kind of wanted to go like this because of the tubes, which was very frustrating. And the nice thing about this particular cooler is that the tubes actually can be rotated on the water block, not on the radiator, but on the water block. So you can direct what angle they're coming out, which is nice. But it was really frustrating. And I tried so many different things. I tried tightening up the screws more and all kinds of stuff. And nothing I did made any significant difference. I saw a few, like 2, maybe 3 degrees of difference at best. And it was really like, I worked on this off and on since, well, it's been like a week now, I would say. And and then finally, last night, it occurred to me, 2 possibilities. One possibility is that some part of the mounting hardware has been bent. And so I started exploring that last night, and I thought I had discovered that there's the ring that goes around the water block head that holds it, that has the holes that the mounting bolts go through. I thought maybe that had gotten warped, but then I just got my Thermalright Frozen Magic V2 Scenic, which is supposed to be, according to a couple of other YouTube reviewers, Richie over at Welshie Tech, and then I forgot the other guy's name. Darn it, I'm sorry. But anyways, and they were both saying that this is a better AIO, but noisier too. And Welshie Tech felt like both of them are pretty noisy. But then again, he has his computer up on his desk within a couple of feet of him, so it's a bit of a difference. So, anyways, this morning I took the mounting gear out of the Magic and I compared it, and no, it wasn't warped. So I was like, well, what if it's the bolts? Because, it had been mismounted, and so the bolts may have been colliding with the ring. And so I took it apart. And not only did I find out that one of the bolts was indeed slightly bent, which wasn't easy to see, but eventually I realized it. But 2 of the plastic blue standoffs had been compressed to the point where they were a little bit distorted in shape. And so that wasn't a significant thing, but what was a significant thing is that this problem had occurred. And so I straightened out the bolt, and I decided to try again. Right, so tested it again. Temperatures were still out of control. It was going up to 100 degrees, throttling. I was trying to figure it out, and I thought about it, and I realized I had checked all the hardware. I'd even taken the nuts from the Magic and used it for knot, and that hadn't helped. So I was like, well, it's not the hardware then. I looked at the CPU. It looked fine. I looked at the Thermalright bend correction frame, and it looked fine. So I thought, well, I did switch thermal paste. Maybe it's that. And lo and behold, after I changed it just now, retested, it's much better. Much better. So what I discovered is that I looked at, there's a Tom's Hardware comparison of 90 different pastes. And I looked at that, and that showed that the particular paste I had applied, which was the Alpha Cool Silver, was bad. It was like over 20 degrees Celsius hotter than the best one on the list. So it's really poor quality. I've got a big 30 grams of it. It's like, oh man, I chose to. No wonder it was so cheap, because it's crap. I might as well have used toothpaste. Probably would have gotten the same thermal dissipation results, or heat dissipation, you know? So yeah. So that's why. So my testing should be done tomorrow. And so that's the one bit of news that I wanted to share with you. There is another bit of news. So I put up a poll, what was it, last week, partway through the week, asking what you guys thought about me receiving donations from SilverStone as far as, equipment. I mean, like fans. And I said, please vote so that I can get your thoughts on this idea. Because, I previously put out a video in which I stated for manufacturers, I said to them, if you want to donate, fine. I will not be using it in the same capacity that I will be using other products that I have purchased myself, unless you agree to allow me to buy it and then you reimburse me. And when I say buy it, I mean from a third party, not from the manufacturer itself. And their response, unfortunately, this was the manager of marketing, Tony, and he said, unfortunately, we did try that previously, and it was a pain in the butt or something like that for the accounting department. So they opted to discontinue that, and he declined, very polite, very nice, and he declined to do that with me, which, my channel's tiny. And although he knows that I've got lots of fans, he doesn't know what's going to happen with his channel. And so, rightfully so, he didn't want to commit to something more serious. Also, I did let him know that I would be interested in other things like water coolers and cases and stuff like that. But some of the other things that they sell, I'm not interested in, simply because I don't have the level of expertise necessary to do a proper review of them. Admittedly, they have a couple of other products that I would love to get my hands on, but yeah, it is what it is. So, I just wanted to be upfront with him. So, and he said, well, and I said, I know you did not offer any of this stuff to me, but if you are interested, I am interested in that. But I did make it clear to him, what the conditions were if he were to send something to me directly that I, no strings attached and all that. And so he said, hey, no problem. Not going to do the whole selling thing, indirect sales thing with you. I mean, I think I agree with you that it's the, I'm just going to read to you what he wrote to me so that exactly. Let's see, where is it? Took him a little while to get back to me because he's a pretty busy guy. All right, so, and he did answer a bunch of questions I had, recommended some of the cases that he's got, and then he talked a little bit about some of their coolers and some of their fans. And he did confirm that indeed, because my channel is so tiny, that he would only be sending me fans, which is understandable. Fans are actually very cheap to mass produce, so it makes sense. And so he wrote to me and he said, darn it, I'm still, it's around here somewhere. Hold on a second, I gotta find this thing. It's driving me nuts now. Right, so he said, hi Glenn, given your current channel's size and view counts, I would only be able to offer you a few fans to start. So let me know if you would be interested in checking out a couple of our Air Slimmer and Shark Force fans by replying with the model size you prefer. Thanks. And we did go back and forth about that a little bit because I wanted his input. And I also wanted him to know what I was thinking about doing next. which I guess I should tell you guys in a minute. So the other thing that I think is really important that he said, and he wrote a lot to me, and is good conversation, helpful person. He said, so with that said, I am open to send you our fans without strings and obligations attached. You can do whatever you want with them. You can even sell them off after checking them out too, because they are just regular inventory, meaning my regular inventory. So in the sense that they're in my inventory, right? But not that I bought them like everything else I've got. So yeah, that's very cool, very generous. And he sent me the news is that after I'm finished with my AIO testing to see if MSI's information is correct, I'm going to be doing two things. I'm going to take a break from the 120 millimeter fans, and I'm going to be looking at the 140. Excuse me. Gosh, this hiccuping is driving me nuts. I'm going to be looking at fans that are at least 140 millimeters in size, in diameter. And so I'll be reviewing those for a while, because I think my collection is like maybe 1/3 that 140 or bigger. And the other thing that I'm planning to do is I'm going to do some relatively basic testing of thermal paste. I'm not sure. I've got a bunch of thermal pads. Unfortunately, the vendor who sent them to me didn't label most of them, so I'm not really sure what a lot of them are, which is very frustrating for me. But I will be doing, and I don't even know how many thermal pastes I've got. I've got a significant number of them, and a lot of them aren't even on the Tom's Hardware comparison list. So that's some of them are just older than what's on the list. Some of them are newer than what's on the list. So yeah, I'm planning on doing something with that. I figured out a simple way to do it, and which basically involves running a program called Prime 95, which you can have it set up to test use as many of your cores as you want to. So I have it doing all of my cores, all of my threads, and see how high it pushes the temperature. Given that now I probably will switch to a cooler that's easier to work with for that particular testing than an AIO. But it's all pros and cons really in the end. But I've got probably, gosh, I don't know how many I've got now. I'm going to say around 30 air coolers now, and I'm waiting for a couple more to come in that I ordered that are kind of delayed, but with a lot of different brands. But I'm going to look through those and see which one's got the easiest mechanisms for mounting and stuff like that. Anyways, so yeah, and then today I received a box. Now I knew this box was coming because coincidentally I had looked at some information from the post office, because I use their postal information system to let me know about packages and stuff. And coincidentally, I looked a couple of days ago and I noticed, oh, there's a package coming from SilverStone. Hooray! That was really fast. So I do want to clarify that. Number one, I'm not breaking my promise to you, my viewers. I'm not violating what I said to the manufacturers in my video. These fans that I'm getting from SilverStone will be used to the extent that I will do an initial review of them, so that at least you're aware of them. Because I think they're they've got some pretty good fans. It's just that they tend to be kind of on the higher end. I'm usually looking for fans that are on the low end. And are lesser known models or brands, to try and find some hidden gems. And SilverStone has been around a while now, and they're kind of well known, but I really don't hear a lot about them. So it's really nice that I've got stuff from them that I can share with you other than the SilverStones I've got, like the air penetrator that I reviewed, because a lot of these SilverStones that I've got are older SilverStones. So they're not as relevant now. I'm not even sure if all of them are still being sold by Silverstone. Probably not all of them. But yeah, so there's that. And so in the package, I got the Shark Force 140 because I did tell him it was my plan to switch from the 120s to the larger fans for a while and try to knock those out so that people who are looking for 140s and larger have that information available to them. So yeah, the Shark Force 140, and you see this patterning on the blades here. It really does have that patterning on the blades, and it's kind of attractive. I kind of like it. He also sent me instead of an air slimmer, he sent me also the Shark Force 160, which is cool. I think I only have 2 other fans that are around 160, so that's really nice to have that. It's a rarity to find a 160 millimeter fan. At least in my limited experience. And then he also sent me, instead of the Air Slimmer, he sent me the Air Penetrator 184i Pro. So I'm really excited about this, and I'm looking forward to learning about these fans and sharing with you guys. Ooh, wow. So the Shark Force 140 has 120 CFMs and up to 4 millimeters of water. So that beats the Noctua A12 by 25 and a lot of other fans. And then the 160 is 160 CFM and 2.21 millimeters of water. And the 184 is 143.21 CFM and 2.22 millimeters of water. So it'll be really interesting. I did do a test check of these just to make sure they do work, because sometimes I get fans that that are damaged in shipping or whatever. I've had fans that are disconnected from the hub and all that, but it doesn't happen much. But it's always important that when you receive a shipment, you check it immediately. I learned the hard way. I used to be a little bit too trusting about things that I was receiving. And I ended up getting the wrong products and not realizing it until it was too late. And I've got some products I just returned, and I've got some more products I have to return because, anyways, you don't need to hear that stuff. So I'm going to have the first phase of the AIO testing done tomorrow, assuming that nothing else crops up to slow me down and cause me confusion, stress, and frustration. And so I will be able to share with you the results. And fortunately, my friend Tatami Matt on LTT Forum is helping me do the graphs, which is really fantastic. Thank you, Matt. And I'm hoping to do an interview with him because he knows a lot about airflow, and I think I forget what kind of an engineer he is, but he's some kind of an engineer. He also is helping me to create some 3D printed objects to help me with some of my testing, like 3D printed frame for fans up to 200 millimeters in size. I've got that partway printed. I don't really have a justification to have my own 3D printer because I don't do it often, and I don't really know how to design those things myself, although I wish I did. And on top of that, the library does it for free. So the only problem is it takes time. Yeah. But I'll also have a holder for my tachometer, and I'll have a holder for my fan to be mounted with the anemometer, so I can measure airflow and velocity. And he has been helping me with producing the designs that I can get printed out. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6 of the parts printed out so far for the fan frame. And it's going to be a while. But anyways, so thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, please do share them with me. I've also been working on some simple ways of visualizing for you how a fan performs in terms of where the air blows and things like a better solution than a piece of paper taped to a fan, because some fans are not designed to be conducive to that. So thanks again, and I hope you have a wonderful day.